Well, good morning, Dima. You ready for a little chit chat today?
Good morning, Rob. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Dima, I'm loving the shirt. I can tell. I can tell
Yeah.
by the red. We're sticking together.
Yes, we are.
I love it. Okay, so we have a special guest today, an old friend of mine, a new friend for Dima, who's doing some amazing stuff with something called the 3 o'clock project. You ready, Dima?
Yes, I'm ready. Where is Emily?
Okay, come on in, Emily. Bam! There we go. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, guys.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good.
So, Rob, we're speaking from 3 different states, Louisiana, California, and
Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, technology. It's amazing.
Technology. Oh, man. So, we're going to have to talk about 3 o'clock project because a little birdie, or I guess most people would call that little birdie Sarah Landreneau Kleinpeter, right? A little birdie said we should talk to you. And that little birdie's special to all 3 of us. So you've got to tell us about you, Em, and about what the amazing things that you're doing with the 3 o'clock project. Can you give us a little rundown?
Okay. Do you have 5 hours? No.
Yeah, I've got about 4.5. Yeah.
So 3 o'clock project, I'm so glad that I started it because I wouldn't be here and able to do this if I hadn't, but I started it about 3 years ago through my work that I do with my normal job and normal COVID, non-COVID life. So we consult with schools across the US on their nutrition program. So I kind of have a bird's eye view, if you will, of all these different states and federal programs and requirements and what happens in one state, what's going on in California, what's going on in New York. And through that work, I really saw a need that after school, there's this great federally funded program, but not a lot of people know about it. It's called the Child and Adult Care Feeding Program, CACFP. And a lot of schools don't opt into it. It's called the supper program because it's a whole nother round of audits and rules and regulations and paperwork, and it's a lot of work. So a lot of schools don't do it, and a lot of small nonprofits don't do it because, again, that's not really their mission, and it's a whole nother arm that they'd have to do. So being from Louisiana, starting out, working in North Baton Rouge with all those schools and really seeing that need of after school when the bell rings at 3 o'clock, a lot of kids don't have a meal to go home to, or it's not a healthy meal, and they depend on school for their food. So I said, you know what, we'll do it. I will start a nonprofit because you have to be a nonprofit to be a meal sponsor. So I Googled how to start a nonprofit and figured it out. And at first I was like, oh, maybe I'll hire an attorney to do it. And some attorney was like, yeah, sure, $10,000 and we'll start your nonprofit. And I was like, what? I have an MBA, right? No, I can do this. So I did. And within like 4 months, we got IRS approval for our 501c3, which I hear is hard to do. And so fast forward, right, we started small with some Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs doing their after school meals, and then have grown to where last year we did about 300,000 meals for the year with about 30 after school partners, to now where COVID hit, all these schools closed, we jumped in being the sponsor, and we've served almost 3 million meals. We might even be at 3 million meals. I can't even keep up.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where we are now.
Wow. So you did 300 all of last year. You've done around 3 million or more in less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months.
So you basically scaled this program like Zoom did, going from 10 million to 300 million. That's insane. Wow.
Wow.
It really is.
So you deliver the food to their homes, or how does it work?
So we're not doing home delivery, although we're looking into it. Right now we do like grab and go locations. So it started with East Baton Rouge schools, when all this shut down, and I knew it, right? From working in other states, I could see the writing on the wall. I knew it was going to happen. So other states, schools were shutting down. Louisiana hadn't yet. And our schools, we were helping them figure out, how do we still feed our kids that are now at home, but to depend on this meal program. So I immediately started making calls in Louisiana, and I said, this is coming. Schools are going to shut down. Feeding programs are becoming an issue. And I just know from my work here that we have a lot of families that can't drive to a site to get food. You know, their kids get on a bus every day and go to school, and they don't have access to a car, or, you know, mom is working all day. Like, how is she going to? So I said, why don't we do a mobile meal route? You know, why don't we go into these neighborhoods, set up shop with a tent and a table, and hand out food to kids?
Wow.
So I called the state, gave them my idea. They were like, well, I don't know. That's, you know, we've never done it. We don't really know, maybe. And I'm like, no, we're doing it. It can work. Come on, let's be progressive. Let's figure this out. And so that's how it started, with mobile kind of grab and go in neighborhoods. We partnered with Breck. Breck's been amazing. They kind of said, okay, here's all our parks that we think are, you know, high traffic and in need. So we partnered with Breck really quick.
Shout out to Corey Wilson.
Oh my gosh, right?
Member.
Corey, Andrea, they have been the most amazing partner to work with. They don't say no. They say,
Dima,
okay,
we've got to get Corey on.
Yeah.
Get Corey on big time.
Yeah.
That's a smart man.
Breck's about to open back up all their parks in their summer camps. So we're working with them now to try to figure out, how do we shift for summer? How do we feed your kids but continue to feed the community? Because they're such a community partner. They really are.
Emily, where's all the food coming from? I have to imagine you're competing. I mean, I hope it's not competition, right? I hope there's enough food going around when I read articles and hear about, you know, food getting wasted. Like, we can't, you know. So I really hope we're not having to compete with it. But are you, in a realistic sense, having to compete with the food banks, or are we, you know, is there collaboration there? Because we had Mike Manning on from the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, and you know, there's so many people that are food insecure, and how does that work? They're trying to feed families and the elderly, and you're trying to help those folks that need that, where that next meal comes from school of all places. Right. So are you competing with the same commodities and products that they are?
We aren't, because they are doing like shelf stable cans of food, dry goods, those types of things that families can take, put in their pantry, and then, you know, cook food. We are doing daily fresh meals. Okay. So there is definitely a shortage on those type of meals that the food bank's trying to get, are all these shelf stable items. Because everybody right now is trying to get that, because they're easy, right? They don't need to be refrigerated or kept hot. So it's a lot easier for a food bank to hand out a box of shelf stable food. So we are doing, to explain how we did this, so when all this happened, I started making calls to friends that I know in Baton Rouge who own restaurants. Another amazing person, right? Sarah Landreneau Klein-Peter is amazing. Michelle Lanois, I don't know if you know her. She's on the board and chairs the Baton Rouge Best Dressed American Cancer Society.
Gotcha.
She actually connected me with Jeff Landry, who owns Taco de Paco food truck. So I was like, I texted all my group of, you know, superhero women that live in Baton Rouge, and I said, who knows food truck owners, right? Like, how can I get this food out into communities? I don't know what I'm doing with that. That's not my expertise. But food trucks, they're already doing this. You know, they already have that infrastructure built. So I called up Jeff and said, hey, I want to serve like 20,000 meals a day. Can you help? I serve, you know, 300 meals from my truck. No. And he was like, no, I can't do that, but I know how to get it done. And so he brought in the big cheesy guys and other food truck guys
Yes.
and other entrepreneurs and restaurant owners, and we all just kind of powwowed. And I said, this is what I want to do, and let's get it done. And so then they rented a kitchen, and we now have grown to Celtic Studios kitchen.
Yeah.
You should seriously go to Celtic.
I've seen those pictures, and I remember seeing the visuals of that during, like during the floods. And when I saw that you had all those pallets of food behind you, and I remember the lighting in there, it's dark, and you're standing around all this food, standing this high, and I got memories of that. And wow, you need that space. You have so many resources to coordinate, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so thank goodness that Celtic is available for that, because you need a space that can hold a lot of those goods.
Yeah, they're built for disasters, right? I don't think
you wouldn't think, right? Like
well, and a lot of other states aren't used to disasters like Louisiana is, right? I feel like we've got that infrastructure to deal with large scale disasters. So
is it weird to be good at a bad thing?
Right? I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing. We're resilient, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
So we jumped into Celtic. Because we needed the space, right? All these schools were shutting down, and their food programs were shutting down because their kitchens are so small, and they couldn't spread out. They couldn't follow CDC guidelines, and their staffing, it's an older staff workforce, school cafeteria workers, right? So they all stopped feeding. And that's why we jumped in with our sponsorship, and that's how we're paid. So we're paid, it's a USDA federally funded program. So we're reimbursed for all the food we serve, and we just got handed a workforce, right? All these restaurant workers that had just gotten laid off,
wow,
young, want to work, know their way around food and kitchens. So we are now employing about 400 mixture of restaurant industry workers, plant workers, people who just lost, jobs through whatever industries, and they're all working for us. Now we don't have 400 people working a day, but that was handed to us as well. So we got this giant kitchen, this big workforce, and it just clicked.
You're helping so many people. Oh my goodness. Wow.
We're probably serving 60,000 to 70,000 meals a day across most of southern Louisiana.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have the food trucks driving around. You have stations also at BRAC. And how do you ensure that you are feeding the students, or are you just feeding anybody who's looking for a meal?
Good question. So it started out with food trucks driving around, plus these grab and go set up, at designated sites. It quickly grew as school districts started to close. They reached out to us saying, could you come to our school and set up a grab and go? So like Ascension Parish schools were in their schools, we're in Central, Zachary, Iberville, Assumption. It's on our website, but we're in a lot of these places doing grab and go. It just got set up to where at first it was a crisis. It was feed kids. If we're feeding their families, okay, everyone's hungry. This is just, schools shut down so quick. On a Friday, the governor made the announcement and they didn't go back to school. Like, nobody could plan for it. No. The intent of the program is for child meals, right? Our mission is every child deserves access to a healthy meal, no matter where they live or their background or their income. So that's our intent. It definitely started in a blast of get the food out into the community. Now that we're going into summer months and there's a lot more stability, the stay-at-home order is lifted, we are requiring a child has to be present at our site to get a meal. If not, if a guardian or parent is picking up, then they just need to fill out a form that says the child, the age, where that child lives. So it is now a bit more back to normal, if you will, and not just feed the frenzy. So we are now kind of tightening it up a bit.
Wow. So as you're going through this, I don't know how to call it, like huge experience, of that you had to adapt to all the things that are changing so quickly, is that making you also think about your nonprofit and how you're going to continue to evolve it after the COVID-19 is more under control?
Yeah. So our big push up until now has been awareness and letting our communities know we exist, and saying, hey, we're a nonprofit. If you have kids after school or during the summer, we can bring you fresh, healthy meals. Because for example, we started working with the Boys and Girls Club in Acadiana. And at that time, they were buying snacks for the kids that were coming, every day. But it was like things like chips and nachos and, just budget friendly items from Sam's or Costco. So we came along and said, we can take this off of your budget so that you can start putting your money towards what you're doing for these kids. And we can start bringing you healthy snacks and healthy meals and, hummus and carrots. And, so it's kind of twofold. Like we were able to, if you're buying food, we can now do it for you and you can spend that money. And B, we're going to bring you healthier food. So our biggest struggle, like I said, was just getting the word out of we're here and we can help and we can partner with you. Because every time we'd come across a new after school program that didn't know about us, they were like, well, what's the catch? What do you mean?
People are conditioned to think that way, right? Everything else has a catch or something attached. And when a good person comes along with a good idea, it's kind of like, this is strange. Yeah. When it should be like, this should be embraced. This is what I was waiting. This was the call I was waiting for.
Yes. So this pandemic, school closure, everything, it has definite silver lining for us. I think our, nonprofit is getting out there. People will now see the work we can do and want to do. And I hope that from it, we just continue to create partnerships and get food to kids who need it. So for the future, I think it'll be great for us in that all these districts and organizations have now heard or seen us and can reach out, long term and say, we want, we'd love to help you to help us with our programs years down the road. So that's our goal in this.
Wow. So wait, I saw a post the other day. You had a drop off point in Jefferson Parish at my old high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Riverdale High School. And so the reach, right? You're a little Opelousas girl, not little anymore by any means. You're doing big things.
Yeah. Well, so, I grew up in New Orleans. My family's from Opelousas. Okay. But I grew up in New Orleans and I went to Ursuline, uptown.
Okay. Ursuline Academy. Yeah.
Yep. But, so Jefferson Parish, the biggest school district in Louisiana, reached out to me and said, we're closing down our schools, the safety of our staff. We can't continue to feed, but we obviously want to take care of our families. And again, because we have this platform, I was able to say, we're in, we can do it. So we're now serving, I think, across like 12 or 13 Jefferson Parish schools. And we started a mobile meal route on the West Bank. My mom taught at Woodmere Elementary for like 20 years. So again, I just know that area. I know that they're in need. So we're probably serving, I don't even know, 15,000 meals a day in Jefferson Parish.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many total? I mean, this is insane when I'm thinking about the scale, right, Dima? I mean, most of the time this stuff is planned. You have months. You not only created a nonprofit and got an IRS number in less than 4 months. You've scaled this up exponentially. It seems like in such a short time. How many drop-off points do you think you're managing a day?
I don't even know. 50? 50? So we also have a couple different models. And to do work like this, yes, you have to be a yes man. You have to make really fast decisions and you can't kind of hem and haw on the what ifs, right? We just go and it works out behind, right? So we are serving probably 20,000 meals, 15 to 20,000 meals a day in Acadiana. So that's your more rural areas like New Iberia, Vermilion Parish, Opelousas, Breaux Bridge, Acadia, Iota, Crowley, Lafayette. We're doing that with boxes of frozen 7 days of lunch entrees with breakfast, and then a bag of fresh produce, orange apples, and a gallon of milk.
Wow.
So every family comes through once a week and gets a box of kid-friendly, lunch entrees that they can either freeze or put them in the refrigerator and just pull out when they need, with fruit and milk. So that's a little different than like our daily hot meals that we're doing in Baton Rouge and Jefferson Parish, because it's so far, and kind of more rural. So it would be really hard to go out there every day and very expensive.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we devised this, frozen meal. And this is where the state has been really awesome in their flexibility. State agencies always get a bad rap, right? All the red tape and all the regulation, and it's so hard to get anything done. They have been on the train, and they are like, that's what you want to do? Sure. Write us a procedure. We'll approve it and go. And so that's what I do.
Emily, who do you want to thank?
My gosh.
Yeah, and I want to bring this up because, yeah, you've got a super fan, and I wish we could tell who this Facebook user was, but there's this one that kind of struck me. Fun fact: even with all this going on, Emily still finds time to write and mail personal and uplifting notes of gratitude.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I'm grateful my kids are coming up here because I know that the house hasn't burned down, not if they're up here. So what are you grateful for? Who do you want to thank that's helped you put some of this together, or just did something that you appreciate?
Yeah, I mean, I did not do this alone. All of this takes a really big community. And everybody has heard what we're doing and reached out and said, how can I help? Number one, I wouldn't be doing any of this, honestly, if my husband hadn't said, gone along with all my crazy ideas. Like, he has stopped kind of what he's doing and said, you know what, this is really important right now. I have, when all this hit, I had a 4-month-old and a 6-year-old in kindergarten, and, school shut down. So not only am I trying to do all of this in a normal, crazy world, but now I've got 4-month-old and a 6-year-old at home every day. So he really stepped in and kind of allowed me to continue this path and free up my time. So I would not be here without him. B, definitely all of my friends back in Baton Rouge, they've really kind of just sending those small words of encouragement, are helpful. And then all of the people and organizations and other nonprofits and companies who stepped in to help. Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation has given to us, BRAF has given to us, Arby's has given to us, Bluebell has given to us, like, you name it. These big companies have said, we see what you're doing. This is important work. Continue. Hancock Whitney's given to all of these organizations who want to help, but they might not be able to physically help, but they can financially. And this has been a very expensive endeavor. So that has been amazing too. So the whole entire state of Louisiana. I've always said, we moved to Denver. I've been here for 3 years. You cannot replicate the community and the people that are in Louisiana. Denver's great. We love the mountains. We get out a lot, but the people are not the same. There's not that heart and culture and community anywhere else. So that's been really cool to kind of see shine through all of this.
I agree about the community and the connection. Like when things really go bad, that's when we get closer and more supportive of each other.
Right.
It's so amazing to hear everything you're experiencing and all the people that you are helping. That's beyond what I've ever imagined.
Thank you. Yeah, and another unique thing about this, we normally serve free and reduced kids or families, and because of this pandemic and closures and job loss, we're really feeding everyone that probably didn't need help before, and now they do. And they come out and they just say, thank you. You know, my husband got laid off, or I haven't been able to go to work, and this has just been like such a help. And, you know, a lot of times I've had those moments of like, what am I doing? You know, I don't have to be doing any of this. I could be home enjoying my family and doing things. And it's moments like that that make me realize, you know, this is bigger. This is bigger than us. I mean, to me, this is a bigger crisis than Katrina. You know, this is ongoing and long and wild. So to be able to use this nonprofit to help everyone who needs it has been really humbling.
You know, you're getting hit though from every angle. You have to worry about your safety. You've got to worry about logistics and operations. You know, I imagine these meals, you know, and I'm bringing this for comparison. You don't have to say any numbers or anything, but the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank can feed, they can stretch their dollar, you know, to 3 meals. And I know they're working probably with a lot of those non-perishables and stuff that we talked about. But you mentioned frozen stuff. You mentioned perishables, fruit, vegetables, and that's got to cost a lot more. That's, I mean, what is a meal that you're typically providing? What does that usually run?
It probably costs, I mean, food costs are, I don't know, let's call it $2 a lunch. Labor and overhead and supplies and packaging and everything else, you know, really brings that up to closer to likely $4, between $3.50 and $4. I mean, if you think about it, milk alone, like, right, an 8-ounce carton of milk is about 25 cents. A fresh piece of fruit is 20 cents. So we said, though, I don't want to, I still believe that our mission is, you know, healthy, fresh food. So we have not cut corners on that goal and mission. You know, just because we're in a crisis doesn't mean kids should get, you know, a pack of raisins in place of a fresh piece of fruit. And that's where our community support and philanthropic dollars has really helped us stick to the fresh, the healthy, etc. And I mean, you're right. We're kind of on the front line, right? We're out in the community. I mean, I had to have a talk with my pediatrician and say, hey, I'm flying to Louisiana with my 4-month-old and 6-year-old. And he kind of was like, what job is making you do that? And I was like, oh, man, your boss is telling you to fly right now. And I'm like,
who do you work for? Who are these crazy people?
With little kids during the COVID. Oh, my God.
I know. But again, it's bigger than us. You know, my husband and I had a real talk about this and what should we do and the safety of our family and what are we comfortable with. And thankfully, we're just on the same page. And he said, no, I think we need to go. I think we need to do this. And so we did it. We masked up and, you know.
And moved out, apparently. You are moving meals left and right, this corner, that corner. Wow. Mobile force.
Yeah.
Emily, what you're doing is so special. So very important.
So with the mobile, you're mainly utilizing the food trucks, right? Or are you in the process of also buying your own trucks for future situations like this?
Well, we're right in that weird space. So we've rented Penske trucks to pack, you know, thermal bags of food and go out. And we've rented giant, you know, ovens and turkey cookers and I mean, you name it. But we are at that point of, do we start to invest and buy, and how long is this going to happen, and how long will schools need support? You know, I just got an email from a school district saying, do you do meals for schools like during the school year? And I'm like, I can. You know, because I think schools are still going to have this problem. The COVID isn't going away, you know, coronavirus isn't going away. And when schools open up in the fall, whatever that's going to look like, their staff is still going to be, you know, some of them still have an older workforce, smaller kitchens, like that. problem. It's still going
well,
to
that
be.
demographic doesn't change, right, Emily? I mean, those kids still need meals. They still have, they still come from food deserts. They're food insecure and don't know where their food's coming from, or if that last snack that they got with the bell ring, and if that's what they're going to have to bring home and make it stretch.
Right.
That's not going to change. That demographic's still not going to change. What might change is more need, you know, maybe less need, and then obviously a plan to keep this going.
Right.
Wow.
Schools weren't built for grab and go stuff. You know, if you think about traditional public school buildings in Louisiana, first of all, they're all outdated and old and crumbling. Their kitchens aren't made, and they don't have the to-go boxes and stuff. Like, all of that is foreign, right? But it's not foreign to us. That's what we do. We do delivery meals and to-go meals. And so I'm hoping that we can still continue to be a help when schools open up. And, you know, the reality, just like what you said, Rob, is that these kids' needs don't stop, you know, and I don't know how you two grew up, but I was fortunate to always have dinner on the table. Always. I never worried about being hungry at home. Like, it's such a foreign thought to me of not having food in the refrigerator or the pantry. It was always there. And the reality that these kids, because these kids don't choose their situation or circumstance, is that a lot of them don't have that security blanket. They really do wonder, where am I going to get my meal? Or your parents that they're skipping meals to make sure their kids eat is also heartbreaking. You know, I know that that's happening and that exists and that's a reality. So I just can't rest knowing that.
Well, and you know, some of those parents, they might be worried about what that's going to look like in a few weeks or, you know, in a few months. And so it might be good to know that people like you are out there, and like this organization like 3 O'Clock Project is there, in case they might have to, you know, meet you at one of those drop points that might have been tough, or that they didn't consider today that might be a reality in a month or two.
For sure.
So I got to ask, when, you know, this is a tough one. When do you make the call? How do you make the call in the position that you're at, making very quick decisions, decisive decisions? Because a lot of this is day to day. I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of moving parts, but for the long term. And, you know, when do you make that call, Emily? Because we're not really going to know. And you're working in a few different areas. So there's different levels and different phases, and I'm sure different responses. So when do you make the call to invest in this in the long term? And like, do you have a date in mind or something where, like, by June 30th, I know I got to turn this into something more long term?
My gut's there, and usually my gut is right. And so the call has pretty much been made in my mind. I don't, if any of my, you know, colleagues are watching this, hey, we're doing it, right? No. I think the writing again is on the wall, and this is where it's going. And it's so funny because my job, my real job that I have put on hold, and my employees are freaking fabulous and have carried my company and all of our other schools that we work with, right? Like my normal consulting job. I have gotten that question asked. You know, we consult with schools who outsource to food vendors who provide their meals. And I have gotten that question several times to my schools. Well, why don't you guys just start a food company? You know, why don't you just do the food? I've always said, oh, no. Right? I don't want that bag of can of worms. Like, that's a lot.
That's true.
And here I am. Probably starting a school food providing company, you know, like granted, it'll be through our nonprofit arm, and it's kind of a fun thing to think about. You know, I'm all about innovation and change, and I am the person that welcomes it. And, you know, I look at challenges with like a curious mind of, oh, cool, who can I bring in, and who can I put together, and how can we tackle this? So yeah, I think the call's probably been made. Yeah. And, you know, the need is just there. It's just not going to go away.
Wow.
Mm.
I wanna go back to what you mentioned at the beginning of our chit chat, of the whole thing, how it started, the 3 o'clock project. But I'm curious about what is the specific thing that made you start it? What is the story of maybe a child you got in touch with that was hungry? What made you start it?
Really good question. There is a moment. So back in like 2013, 2014, when I was working with this back office company, part of our job was operations in schools. So I would help them run their business side of the school. So I would go in, review contracts, look at things. The food program is one of the things that fell onto my lap. And I'm pretty passionate about health and wellness and kids. So I was always drawn to the cafeteria, right? I'd always loved to go stop in the cafeteria, sit with the kids. The babies were my favorite, elementary school. And I would just sit at the table and say, what are you guys eating today? And, why don't you try that vegetable and this and that? And one day, it was a school in North Baton Rouge, downtown, children's charter school. And I was sitting there and they had served blueberries. And I love blueberries. And none of the kids were touching it at the table. They just were eating, around the blueberries. And I kind of was like, why aren't you guys eating blueberries? They're so good for you. And they did not know what they were. They were like, well, we're not eating that because we've never seen it. And, kids, they're picky. If it's something new, they're not going to eat it. Yeah. And I had that moment of clarity that these kids aren't growing up how I grew up, right? Like I had eaten a blueberry for sure. Like I knew what a blueberry was. And so that moment really kind of hit me in the face of, wow, I grew up quite advantaged and from these disadvantaged kiddos. And so that kind of just sat with me for a long time, many years, until I started working more with schools, doing more meal programs. And I've always thought back to that moment with the blueberries. And that's why I decided that these kids, there's still a gap after school. And that's where I jumped in and made this nonprofit. But that moment for me really was a wake-up call to how some kids don't have access or don't have the same things I had, and that's not right or fair. They're kids.
Wow.
Blueberries.
Blueberries. So here we are, starting a food company because of that darn blueberry. But yeah, that's really where this all started.
And you're expanding to other states as well, right?
Right. So right before COVID hit, we had applied, gotten the whole application started in California. So the goal for this, I'm already in all these states working with state agencies, and I understand the laws and the rules. And this problem is not unique to Louisiana. This whole after school meal, supper program and summer meals. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to make it a national nonprofit and go everywhere that has neighborhoods and communities in need. We're in some of the harder hit neighborhoods with food insecurity. We're in Oakland and Compton and in California. We're in Chicago. We're in New York, Atlanta. We're in all these major urban cities that have problems. And we're also in rural areas too. I mean, everywhere has a need. It's like, you can just get overwhelmed with it, but I just, I'm taking it one bite by bite. And our next step or stop is in Los Angeles, California.
Wow. A little bit bigger district than Jefferson Parish there.
Yeah. LAUSD, JP, yeah, totally different, but
wow. That's impressive. Mm-hmm. Emily, is there something you'd like to show on the website, perhaps, or is there? Let me pull that up for you.
Yeah. So
talk about that.
On our website, we created a whole page for what we're doing. So if you click the COVID tab or click follow our COVID feeding updates, that is where families can find where we are. If you just scroll all the way down, it lists everywhere that we're doing grab and go meals, the times, the
Wow.
dates. So those are all our routes and EBR that we created. Well, we might be making some changes for summer because some summer camps are starting up, so we might adjust. But yeah, if you or a family that could use some help right now in getting their kids fed, this is where we are. We update that daily because it changes daily. And yeah, that's where we
Wow.
are.
You are all over the place. I mean, in case someone isn't looking at the screen right now, you've got East Baton Rouge, the mobile meal routes, you've got the address, the name of the school, the time of arrival.
Yeah.
You sure you didn't work for like UPS or something like that? Because this is the logistics are strong with this one.
Wait, so I've always wondered why I had to take logistics class in MBA school, right? I was like, what? Logistics?
I know why. I know why now. Wow.
You could make a career out of it. It is tough.
I mean, the times, the location, the drop-off point, Acadiana, Plaquemine. I mean, look, if you know somebody in Acadia, St. Landry, Iberia, Vermilion, I saw something. If you're in Labadeville, the reach is insane here. And that's in Mississippi?
Close. No. Oh, middle school.
Middle school. That's okay. I didn't take logistics, so this is incredible. Ascension, and you've got all these links right here. Okay, so what about this, Emily? What if someone wants to help you? I mean, well, you have an amazing story. You've got a cause that people can get behind.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we think of 10 people, there's probably a fraction or a percentage of that an extension there might be food insecure. So if we need to point someone in your direction, they can help, they can offer some assistance or give you some contacts. What's the best way to get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to reach out and help you?
Yeah, probably my email, it's just hello@3oclockproject. If you click contact, if you submit something through our website, it comes to me.
Okay.
I took my number off because we started getting blown up by parents asking where the food's at. And I said, no. So our number's not on there. But.
I saw that. I want to talk about that for a second because I've been watching you ever since, Sarah said I should, right? And then I was like, oh my goodness, that's my old friend. So we got to talk about that because things change. And if we're dealing with logistics and operations, in crisis mode, whatever, there's always things that change. You're making quick decisions, but because of that, there might be a school, right? Or a different drop-off point or a different time or I've seen that. That's going to happen, right? And what I want to, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because this might be like, where the hell is Rob going with this? This isn't something I want to talk about. I want to talk about this because I saw you respond. I saw you respond in kind. I saw you take, you took a brief break with what you were doing and you had customer service at the top of mind. And when you're hungry, when I'm hangry, I'm not quite thinking straight, or I might miss a detail, or I might be in a little upset, easy to trigger.
Yeah.
So you handled, that's going to happen.
Well,
But you handled it so respectfully and humbly is why I want to say that.
Oh, thank you.
And you're dealing with people that are looking for something that's not there. That's what they're used to. They don't want to be let down again.
Right.
So, but where I'm bringing that is thank you for, and we have evidence of that in the comments on the show. But you took the time to pause, breathe, and respond in a way that you got them the information, and it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just a misunderstanding. Something changed, and that's coming to. So. Can you speak on that? Do you want to? Yeah. I mean,
look, I've never been in this customer service piece of the world. I've always just worked for schools and clients and business. I've never dealt with parents for the community or general Facebook comments. And so that is a new world for me of being scrutinized, and it comes with what we do. We mess up. We are late. We serve something outdated. Like, we're learning, and I'm very transparent. I'm a transparent person in general, but especially so through my work and through this work. So I am the first to say, hey, we screwed up and we will fix it, and this is what we're going to do. So if you notice on my Facebook, you know, we started using some packaging that the milk was leaking and it would allow for mold. And we got complaints, we fixed it. But I came out and I said, hey, you know, because people get angry, right? And they were mad at us and commenting and how dare you serve this food to these kids, and they deserve better. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Of all people, I know that these kids deserve the best. So if we aren't doing the best, tell me about it and I'll fix it. So we've been, and people appreciate that. You know, I think I've had to make several humbled Facebook status updates saying, you know, hey, communities, you know, unfortunately this happened and we're learning, we're doing better, we're training, you know, and that's all you can do. And we have last minute things that happen. This week, we got contacted at 5 p.m. by a local police department saying, hey, you can't come tomorrow where you always have come because we have this going on. And I'm like, oh my God, like that.
I saw that go down. That was tough.
And so I had to make a post saying, sorry, we won't be there, but I'm not going to throw another entity under the bus because that's not what we're about. And I just have to take it. You know, we just have to take the annoyed or mad parents because we're not there, you know, but it happens. But, you know, with the bad comes the good. I mean, so many more people are just grateful for what we're doing. And those messages, you know, I've gotten a lot of direct Facebook messages that just say, hey, thanks. Thank you for what you're doing. You know, this is a help and we appreciate you. So that's really helpful. You know, this customer service, like I said, thing is brand new. And a lot of things are out of our control that people don't realize. You know, we are dealing with a food supply and chain issue, you know, so at first we started posting menus saying this is the meals for the week. And then guess what? We wouldn't get the delivery of whatever. So we change it, but then we'd get well, your menu said, you know, that you were going to have pasta and it's chicken salad. And so we stopped posting menus, you know, so we're learning, we're growing. But to your comment about, you know, being gracious, it's hard to ask for help, you know, as a family. And we just try to keep the dignity there and recognize that people are going fast and this is crazy times and parents are probably commenting and they have, you know, 3 kids in the background screaming and they're trying to figure out schooling and work and life and, you know, mental wellness too. So I keep that in the back of my mind when we do have those comments, and we just remain, you know, tactful and kind, because kindness is invaluable. You know, it's all I can do is just be kind, even if you're not.
Well, you know, you're not just providing that meal too, even at that drop-off point, someone behind a mask that can make that connection with someone in the car that, hey, we get it. Even that right there is, you know, it might go unspoken, but it doesn't need to be unsaid. Even that's powerful.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. All right. And what else do you want to say? If we got to sign off here in a minute or two, what do you want to leave the people with? What would you want to say? You said a lot. What more do you want to say?
I say a lot. I know these days I'm just talking. No, thank you guys for having such a cool platform and spreading some good. You know, I was on a podcast with Molly Kimball, who's the RD for Ochsner, and she did a podcast that was like, let's just spread the good. You know, there's a lot of unknown and negative going on. So I think in times like this, it's really neat to see, you know, something different and positive, even if it's a comment or an article about a puppy or whatever, you know, like get me out of this COVID crazy. So thank you guys, both of you, for doing this. It's been really cool. And no, I talk too much. I don't have anything else to say.
No, we want to hear more. So that
I know.
too much. This has been great. Thank you.
Yeah.
This has been extremely inspiring. And it's amazing how, when we're talking about an individual connecting with his or her purpose, it sounds like you are absolutely so connected. It started with a blueberry, and look about now the changes you are making nationwide, hopefully very soon as well. So I want to just say thank you for listening, for your intuition. Thank you for responding to the quick changes and being so kind to everybody who is in need right now for the food that you are offering.
Well, thank you. It's very sweet.
Emily, thank you so much for doing what you do. This has been great. Just regrouping. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen you. I think the last time I probably saw you was either at Brass or when we were talking about that 6-year-old. I think you mentioned that you have, right? It was, we were both kind of going through that and around the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember that last conversation. So I just want to say congratulations on your beautiful family.
Oh.
And also this beautiful movement that you created too. This is amazing. And wish we had more Emily Chatelains out there sprinkled around.
I need a few clones. I need a few clones if you could work on that.
Can definitely help you with that. Okay, so Emily Chatelain, 3 o'clock project. This has been really fun. I know Dima will agree with me on this one. We'll probably have a little side chat talking about how this was our favorite. Wow, y'all. But how this is probably our favorite broadcast to date. And it's so funny how when you just compound good with more good, it just feels great. And I love how you went from crisis mode to care mode. And let's just keep that up. Thank you so much, Emily, for being on today. Thanks for chit-chatting with us live. And you mentioned you wanted to say thanks to A, B, and C. Go do that today. And if you don't hear it for yourself, thank you, Emily. I know Dima said it. Thank you. And thank you for your team. And thank you for doing the great things that you're doing.
Thank you both. We'll have to get a beer next time.
Amen.
That would be nice.
In a real restaurant.
That mobile operation, you know where to stop first. These two people right here.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was really fun.
You. Have a great one. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.